Cherry here, aka Jennifer Sparks, and I'm gonna stop this music. Just give me a second. Nothing is as smooth as I'd like it to be sometimes, so bear with me. There we go. I could stop the music. Oh no, now it's starting again. What did you know that? It's so funny. Hold on a second, guys, while I get this stopped and back into OBS. Hopefully, my audio is good and not too loud. And everybody can hear me. So this is Jennifer Sparks, aka J Cherry. A lot of people know me as J Cherry. I did radio for many years at WESU, which I no longer do anymore. I also play music and I go by the name J Cherry. But when I'm doing journalism, I figure I'll go by my actual name, not my stage name or the radio name that I had for years, and that is Jennifer Sparks. So today I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and hopefully my audio levels are good. Unfortunately, my chat is disabled in this moment, so I can't easily see your comments because isn't that just isn't that grand? Let me see if I could do this live in real time. Probably not. Unfortunately, let me close that out. I'm not going to bother trying that. I can't see the chat easily, guys, so hopefully I don't have any audio issues. Let me just take a peek in here where I could pull a chat up on like one of the platforms. So I'm streaming right now to Rumble, to YouTube, to Twitter, to Facebook, and yeah, and Twitch. Sorry, forgot about the one. I'm also using OBS, which is open source broadcast software, which is wonderful. I love OBS. Shout out to OBS. I'm also I'm using this audio thing, which I'm still working out some of the issues that I've been having with audio when I have guests on. But we had a great show with Pasca An and Dr. Robert O. Young a couple weeks ago, and that is currently up on my Rumble channel. And you can find all of these links. Let me put it into, it's going to be up on my Substack where I have the links now. It's so hard to get all the links into different platforms where I'm streaming, because each platform has a different protocol for putting stuff up there. So bear with me as I try to do that. But all the links are on my Substack. That's the Sparks Report on Substack, where you can find that. And today I'm going to be talking about education is public health. Who would have thunk it? Because I certainly wouldn't have thought that education would be public health, to be quite honest with you. That would be the last thing that I would think that education would be. So, all right, so I'm going to go in here if I can see the comments of anybody. Oops, of course, now I don't want that to play. Hold on a second. I'm live in real time listening to myself. I just want to make sure that my audio levels are good and everyone can hear me. Unfortunately, I can't see the comments coming through, which is so frustrating. I can see some on YouTube because I have that open right now. I'm streaming on YouTube for the first time in a while. I have a pirate channel there. I had my channel taken off of YouTube. I was heavily censored couple of years ago for having a video that went viral, actually, of Josiah Dan. A shout out to you. Haven't seen or heard from him in a while, but great speech that he gave. Is a nurse, was actively standing out against the protocols, including masking, and he taught me a lot about masking and what happens when you're in a hospital. So, oh, thank you, Kim, for letting me know that. I appreciate that. So when you're in a hospital, right, they put a mask on a nurse. There is a protocol that they use that Josiah taught me about, which I had never known before. And that is basically they put the mask on and they do like a scent test to make sure that there's no gaps. Now, any mask is, of course, going to have leakage because we are living, and I've said this all the time, all throughout COVID, we live in an atmosphere. So years ago, my mother-in-law had this book about the things that live with us. Like, it was just like this book of microscopic organisms that are in the environment, in the air, on your pillows, on your clothes, on your skin. And it's like they're dinosaurs. So there's a whole atmosphere that we're just not even really conscious of, that we're living in. So the idea that you're going to totally keep air out of your body or contained in your body is like the idea of putting a plastic bag over your head. So I never understood why any of this stuck. And I'm not even talking about masks today. I was just talking about Josiah and why I got my YouTube channel was censored. But anyway, he gave this really amazing speech. I had 2 channels censored because a healthcare worker was out there totally lambasting the government's protocols and asking serious questions about masking, and at that time, and lockdowns, because we didn't even have the vaccine during that speech. So anyway, back to the fact that I am streaming on YouTube for now. I don't like YouTube. They stink, but I will use this channel until they shut me down again. And that's that's where I'm headed with that. So for the people that have found me on YouTube again, I'm only here temporarily. All right, let me jump into some crazy stuff. So the Connecticut legislature is on a field day. But before I get into what crazy legislation Connecticut's got up again, let me share with you what connects to this. So the bills that I'm talking about today have to do with education and parental rights. I've been talking a lot about, there are so many bills that are terrible in Connecticut right now. It is literally difficult to deal with, to keep up with, to fight against, to speak out against. There are so many. So this new set of bills that I'm talking about, or this bill that I'm talking about, is an education bill, and it's called the School Climate Act. And at first I thought, oh, it's like they're going to put climate change into education. Well, they are. They're doing all that. They're changing. The school system has drastically changed, and I've got reasons why that is happening now for you. It blew me away, and it started by me reading this bill and doing some research. So I always start with any bill that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to start to read it. So let's just start. Let me just bring this up right here, and hopefully this switches me. No, blank screen. Hold on. Hold on. Oops. Wrong thing. Apologize for that. Live in real time. Here we go. So, these bills are all, you guys are probably have been hearing this term, social emotional learning. I'm sure a lot of parents out there are aware of this terminology, social emotional learning. So this is based on a paper out of a think tank, and I have the link for you too. So let me pull up over here. Transition for a second. So I'll read this to you. And this is evidence, social emotional learning as a public health approach to education. So I just want you to hear that. Social emotional learning as a public health approach to education. And so this paper, this article, it says evidence-based social and emotional learning programs, when implemented effectively, whatever that means, lead to measurable and potentially long-lasting improvements in many areas of children's lives. In the short term, social emotional learning programs can enhance children's confidence in themselves, increase their engagement in school, along with their test scores, grades, and conduct reduce conduct problems while promoting desirable behaviors. In the long term, children with greater social emotional competence, what does that even mean? What is social emotional competence? And who decides who is socially emotionally competent? The amount of terms that they're using nowadays, it's just mind blowing. It really is. It's insane. It's crazy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what to make of it, what to think of any of this. It's enough to drive me absolutely insane. So here we go. So, and this is going to lead to better mental health and become more engaged citizens. So Connecticut is really serious about this social emotional learning. So in 2021, Connecticut passed a bill for mental health. I'm going to pull up, hold on while I get this going for you guys. Just bear with me here. I got two machines going in my little studio, and they're both using one mouse. So I want to share with you my recent article in Substack. So I'm going to pull this right up. All of my links and references are in my Substack, where I've been publishing a lot lately. And my work is also, you can find it on the Connecticut Sentinel, which is great. I'm glad that they're putting that out there on there. I appreciate that. So here is the crux of it. So I start off this article talking about the mental health bill that just passed. So let me pull this up for you guys. So, in 2022, they passed this bill, and then what this has done is it created a family coordinator that now is going to be at the school. Now, who pays for that? So, there's a whole new public private partnership set up with this now, and I have a note here on that, what they call that. They're calling that, they got the family coordinator, and they have the Children's Behavioral Health Cabinet that they set up when they passed this. And I looked into the cabinet, of course, and it's appointees that Democrats appoint so many people, and then the minority party, which in Connecticut are the Republicans, appoint so many people, and the party in power gets to the meat of the appointments basically. And these are public-private partnerships. These are unelected bureaucrats that are now being brought into the state to affect policy, to direct policy, to set us up with these types of things like social emotional learning. So this behavioral health cabinet and the family coordinator and the mental health bill are all tied to social emotional learning. And for a while, I was really stumped on what exactly social emotional learning is until I found this article where it really got into the nuts and bolts of social emotional learning. And these are science, papers that their experts write for like the CDC. All my links are in the Substack. You can find it's on Substack at the Sparks Report. You can look up J Cherry's Sparks Report and you should find it. Not many J Cherrys out there in Sparks Reports. So that should allow you to see that and find that. So I'll also put the link. I can easily do that in Facebook. I'll retweet the link to my Substack on Twitter and YouTube, Rumble. I don't know how I can get those things in there. I think I can go in and edit it later. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we have the family coordinator that's coming in, and all of these folks, they're going to have social workers and school psychologists in the school under the jurisdiction of this new board, and they're going to have this family coordinator coming in because part of how this works is that they have to come, deal with parents, right? You got school children, you got parents. But these clinics are going to, let me continue on with this. Hold on while I pull up the next funny thing, or not so funny thing in this barrage of bills that we are finding ourselves in. So I start off by saying there's been a shift recently up at the Capitol with parental rights. Parents are not viewed with the same respect as they should be that they've had years ago from the legislative body. Now, I know this because I've been up at the Capitol fighting against vaccines and the mandates and fighting for religious exemptions. Never in a million years could anybody ever have prepared me for where we are at today. Because where we are at today is even worse than losing the religious exemption to vaccines. I have so many desperate parents reaching out to me on a regular basis. I can't get my child into school. How can I get my child into school without taking all these vaccines? And honestly, I have to tell you, there's really not much you can do, even though Connecticut state law recognizes that autoimmunity and a history of autoimmune disease in your family is justification for an exemption. No medical professional in Connecticut will easily give that to you. There might be a few that you could find. I could try to help you out with that if you sent me a message, but I don't know because I don't follow up with other parents. I can give you some numbers and some names. I'm not going to get into that publicly about how you can get an exemption. But what I ultimately tell parents, it's not just the vaccines. You have to now be concerned about what it is that they're actually teaching in school because it's scary. So let me take you over here to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong place. It's sometimes confusing when I'm dealing with two computers and one mouse. Here we go. I'm going to pull this up for you. Social emotional learning. This is, here we go. Okay, so interestingly enough, now this screenshot I just picked up from the CDC. This is still on their website all this time later. Hold on a second while I just bring you into a full view. I'm gonna scrunch my eyes. Let me put my glasses back on. This is still up on their website, and I had to screenshot this because it's learning strategies to create a healthier environment. Can you see that? Can you see all the language there? Okay. And I just find as this whole scene like an oxymoron. Learning strategies to create a healthy, supportive school environment. Well, the first thing here in this picture, they're all masked up. And we're past COVID. And let me just tell you that pushback is the reason why we're not still in masks and our children are able to breathe at school. Pushback, okay? Because if it were up to the powers that be orchestrating this, public-private partnerships, who are they? They are public-private partnerships. And I'm going to get into following that and showing that all to you in this article that I have just written for my Substack. So they are public-private partnerships, and they're public-private partnerships who are funded by giant billionaire philanthropies. So the philanthropist of modern days is a major policy shaper. So you've got, just to name a few of the similar ones that everybody's familiar with, you got the Gates Foundation, but Connecticut also has a philanthropic foundation. It's like a Connecticut Community Foundation or something like that. So Connecticut has one too. There's a whole thing, and interestingly, Connecticut's like called the CCP, is the acronym for the Connecticut Community Philanthropy, whatever. So basically, it enables non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to in effect lobby and push and pursue policies. And I've gotten into this when I've talked about the zoning bills that are up, because it's the same type of thing. So what happens is that the laws are being shaped in our local communities by, to put this in a simple way, well, right now with the bill I'm talking about, it's the CDC, but it's beyond the CDC. It's part of this overall agenda that these big giant billionaires through their philanthropies are pushing this, and a lot of it is through, big pharma as well, if I'm not losing you there with that. So let me take you on to this slide, and hopefully it helps me to explain that better. Hold on a second while I get this escape. So these are just things. This is the CDC, and this is not this. Let me take you out of here, and I'll take you to that in a second. What I really want to get into is this. So this is called the whole school, whole child, whole community. You can go on to the CDC's website and you can look up all of this on the CDC's website. And Facebook, you know what I can do? I'm going to type you in that right now because I can. It's very easy to do that in Facebook. So I'm just going to type you in where you can find what I'm talking about so that you can look yourselves. Okay, so this is called the whole school, the whole child. Let me just make sure I got the link here. Nope, that's community protectors. Hold on a second. So, whole school, whole child. You can even look that up. Is that the right one? This is the foundation for the social emotional learning. So the quote that I just read you, and I'm putting this, unfortunately, it's easier for me to do it in the Facebook thing here because I know some people are going to want these right away to start to look for them. But you can look this up too. All you have to do is look up whole school, whole child, whole community. And so when you go to this website, and I'm going to take you there too myself, when you go to this website, you're going to find it's really kind of creepy. And this is the CDC's whole school, whole child, whole community. And this is, and I'm just going to pull you up some of the slides. Actually, I'll take you right onto the website because this is just crazy. So here it is. Oops, sorry. Try to transition here, dude. 10 things at once. Okay, so this is the CDC's whole school, whole child, initiative. This is new, guys, but it's not that new. The CDC has been involved with our schools before. Basically, what this is this is school is part of public health now. They have clinics in schools. So the school is going to be a place where you're going to get your education, your medical services. It's all starting. And actually, a friend of mine today was telling me about how in 2019 she was up at the Capitol, and they had some pharmaceutical lobbyists up there, a hospital lobbyist up there pushing to have these clinics. So they have health clinics in schools. Now, that's not entirely new. There's been health clinics in different schools in communities that maybe are in poorer neighborhoods or whatever. They put these health clinics to give more access, as if there's no community clinics already in the neighborhood. Anyway, they're putting clinics into schools. So they're going to have mental health, vaccines, sex health services, okay? Parents not always needing to know. Okay, because the children, they had a bill that they wanted to pass this session. It didn't pass, but it could get slipped into something else, where the Connecticut legislator wanted to vaccinate children without parental consent or even knowledge. Okay, so they have these clinics that are now in schools, and this is huge, guys. This is called Whole School, Whole Community, Whole Child. This is social emotional learning. That's what it is. Social emotional learning is changing school into a public health realm. And in school, kids are going to be taught a whole bunch of things that the CDC deems important for kids to know. I'm going to take you to this slide because you'll find this really interesting, as I have found it interesting, I'm sure. One of the things that the CDC notes, it's disturbing. Check out this was on their website. You can find this on their website yourselves if you go there and you look at it. Let me just get full screen here so you can really see that. So, this is when you read this is from the CDC, Whole School, Whole Child. Okay, so 2 and 5, and these statistics, okay, 2 and 5 children aged 6 to 17 have chronic health conditions. That's true. It might even be worse. Okay, 1 in 4 has autism. And so what we're finding is kids are not healthy, so they're right about that. And the CDC schedule has done nothing to help kids be healthier. And then 20% of children had obesity. Gee, what would cause obesity? Could be all the chemicals in the system anyway. And then high school students don't get enough sleep. And then at the end here, which I find the most interesting, is here. 48 million students could be reached with health messages. What does that mean? What do you mean? 48 million students could be reached with health messages. So you're sending your child into school, and part of the education, part of the curriculum now is written by the CDC. This is where we're at this time in life. The CDC is now invested in education in a way that it absolutely shouldn't be. Whole school, whole child, whole community. Just remember that. So let me take you back to here. Just so that it's back here. Let me just pull this up. Sorry, guys. Live in real time as I pull this article back up, this link. There we go. Whole school, whole child. This is the CDC's... This is the CDC, guys, in the school. What is the WSCC model? The whole school, whole child, whole community, or WSCC model is the CDC's framework for addressing health in schools. The WSCC model is a student-centered and emphasizes the role of the community in supporting the school, the connections between health and academic achievements, and the importance of evidence-based school policies and practices. The WSCCC. Do you see this? Okay, so here at the center, they have the child, then they have community, and they have all this, like, gobbledygook here. You could click on the health education. What do you think that is going to include from the CDC? What could that possibly include? I don't know. The CDC was quite busy with their strategy for children during COVID. Now this here, I'm going to pull this, I want to blow this up again. Sorry about that. This is like Mad Magazine. This is the CDC. This is what they put together for children, to educate children. Here it says, I love science, hand soap. Look at the face. Do you see this here? The COVID with the evil eye, right? And little kid, he's got his mask on. I almost want to color this in just to make it more extreme and dramatic, right? And he's there, and he's got, look at the food he's got. Fruit snacks. Because the CDC is also going to be telling you what you should be feeding your kids. Now, if any public school in the country right now, the lunchroom is atrocious. It's Sodexo. So the same people that are feeding prisoners are feeding students in school. So I don't know who's talking about health. The CDC has had their hand in education for a while. I just learned that recently. I didn't realize that. And it's so shocking to me that this is the case. Now, these cartoons, this coloring book, was specifically designed. Here, let me show you this. This is what how the CDC wants to educate your children. Now, each child in each community, there might be a slightly different way they're going to market the health curriculum too. This particular coloring book is a 20-page coloring book that was exclusively made for it's conveys culturally relevant and science-based messages for Native children about preventing the spread of COVID-19. Let me just reiterate this. This is all still up on the CDC's website, by the way. The 20-page coloring book created for children 5 to 10 uses stunning illustrations to recreate stunning illustrations ready for crayon and colored pencils, and a lively story that conveys culturally relevant and science-based messages for Native children about preventing COVID-19. So just to know that all of the curriculum will be culturally geared to the right ethnic group. Okay. So this is all that I found for for some reason, this was up on the CDC's website, which I found in the whole school, whole child, whole community section there, which is just really wild stuff. And here, take a look at this. Look at this. This is insane. So this is their culturally relevant book, the coloring book that was made for Native American children. And you could see the COVID, scary COVID. It's caused by a tiny creature called a virus. When people cough, sneeze, talk, or breathe, they release little droplets into the air. Remember, this is science-based. We've been through this 100 times, so I don't need to get into that. If someone has the virus, the droplets can carry it to people who are sitting or standing close to them, explained Simon. So it's this is the CDC. This is the kind of messaging that you're going to be subjecting your kids to school. Now the COVID scenario is on pause right now. Kids are getting ready to get out of school. We are in a lull period for all of this. It will wreak its ugly head again because they're working busy in the legislature. Let me just show you another one. This is just wild. I was so appalled by this. I was so absolutely appalled by this. Look at this one. This one is just crazy. The little boy is eating a box of it says, we should also keep a good routine by staying active, playing outside, and getting plenty of sleep. And the sad part is he's looking at a screen, talking to his friend, eating a box of cornflakes, as if that's a healthy choice for a breakfast for a child. Bowl of cornflakes. It's probably genetically modified. So this is what the CDC is in the schools. Whole school, whole child, whole community. Now, this is related exclusively to COVID, and I'm using it as an example because I found this information out the other day while I was researching the bills that are in Connecticut that are going through the legislature. One that's passed, the mental health bill, that's old news. That passed last year. And the other one, the school climate bill, well, that probably is going to pass in the supermajority that we do find ourselves living in today in the state of Connecticut. So, good times, right, guys? So let me take you over here where we can look at more fun stuff. So let's get into some of what they're going to, what are the health services? What are the health services? This is part of the school curriculum. This is whole school, whole child, whole curriculum, and this is by the CDC in school with your kids. School health services intervene with actual and potential health problems, including providing first aid, emergency care, and assessment, and planning for the management of chronic conditions such as asthma or diabetes. Isn't it scary that we do live in a time where so many children are diagnosed with asthma and diabetes? That we really have to sit back and pause on that and think about that. That's really, really bad. Now, some people say, oh, it's climate change, whatever. I'm not going to get into that right now, but there is a staggering problem. So, I could see how parents would be like, yeah, when my child has diabetes, it's good that the school's on board and supportive. Same thing with asthma. And schools have always had nurses on hand for any child that has a special need or a health issue or a medication. It's just gone up so high that so many students, even according to the CDC's own statistics, that it's 2 out of 5 kids with a chronic health condition. That's alarming. Absolutely alarming. And it's like just being normalized, like this is normal. Anyway, in addition, wellness promotion. One has to wonder, what do you mean by wellness promotion? What does that mean? Then we got preventative services, vaccines. So they're going to be giving out vaccines to students at school. Now, people say, well, they've done that at school. I was vaccinated for smallpox in the 60s or whatever at a school, and they've had a mass vaccine campaign. Things are a lot different now than the 60s or the 70s or when they, I remember in school, they test your hearing. They still do that. My children had their hearing tested when they were in school. My kids were homeschooled and they went into public school, and my son is graduated from high school. He's the only one out of all of my kids to graduate traditionally out of high school. All the rest took different routes and ended up going and just taking their GED test, frustrated with the system. So that just goes to show you. Let's see. So they have preventative services and staff and student and parent education complement. What does that mean? What is the parent education complement of this? The provision of care coordination services in school. This is on the CDC's website. Whole school, whole community, whole child. Okay? This is part of their 10 goals that they have to make education, to social emotional learning and restorative practices. Okay. So now they got this complement, care coordination services. The services are also designed to ensure access and or referrals to medical, home, or private healthcare providers. Health services connect school staff, students, families, community healthcare providers to promote the health care of students and healthy and safe school environment. School health services actively collaborate with the school and community support services to increase the ability of students and families to adapt to health and social stressors, such as chronic health conditions or social and economic barriers to health, and to be able to manage these stressors and advocate for their own health and learning needs. Health educators, physicians, physician's assistants, and allied health professionals provide these services. Now, academics is no longer a part of, it's a part of it, but they're going to be spending so much time doing social emotional learning and restorative practices and implementing their health plans. I don't know when they're going to have time for basic reading and writing and math, which are the things you send your child to school for. Most, any one parent has the ability and the mindset to pick their own doctors and medical care and medical practices and preventative care. I mean, we're adults here, but in this world, being an adult and being a parent, well, you're not qualified. The state is, the bureaucracy is, the CDC, whole school, whole child, whole community is more qualified than you are. Because, and I've read this in their papers, because they're going to treat everybody the same. So everybody is all equal. That's equity, right? So you're going to have kids are all treated the same, whether they have an issue or they don't have an issue. Everybody's the same. There's no diversity in this. It's all the same. They say it's diversified, but it's not. Everybody is treated the same. So what they do is they treat the class as if it's all, everybody's going to have these issues. So we're going to do this curriculum in this order, whatever way and whatever community they're in, whatever, however they're designing this. Because what I just showed you, what they had put the coloring book together was for Native children. This coloring book that the CDC had. And this was just me doing a quick peruse of cruise through the CDC's website, not diving in. I want to dive in deeper and kind of still go through and report on this. But what I did find was really, really quite disturbing. So let me take you back over to here. This is all on the CD's website. So here, this is the mental health component of the bill. This mental health component of the bill has already passed in Connecticut. That is a law. The Mental Health and Children's Services, there are mental health clinics now in your local school. If they're not, there will be. There is army of social workers that are being trained in social emotional learning and restorative practices to work with your children. Now, maybe some people are just fine with that, but I have lots of questions still. And why are we doing this? What is going on here? What is really going on? Well, here's some of more of what their plans are. So they're going to have counseling, psychological, and social services at school. These prevention, and the whole thing runs on preventing. They're going to prevent. Everybody's treated the same. Like you could grow up and you can have all these problems. So we're going to treat everybody the same, and everybody's going to be screened for mental health and screened for this and screened for that because everybody's the same. And we're going to treat everybody the same. So we're going to have to do all of these measures that are going to preempt any potential problems. These preventions and intervention services support the mental health, behavioral, and social emotional health of students and promote success in the learning process. According to whom? By what standards? And who sets these standards and practices? And what if parents aren't comfortable with it? What if I'm not really comfortable with it? Because from what I know and understand about what's going on right now, medication is one of the main things that they use for mental health services. Okay, let's just be real. I've written extensively on the use of medication as the only means to help people with mental health issues. Am I in denial of mental health? No. People struggle with mental health issues. That's a very real thing. Any human being at any time could struggle with mental illness. Mental illness has afflicted all of us at some point in our life. We've all had anxieties. We all have to deal with the stressors of life. Grief, loss, trauma, PTSD, whatever, any human being anywhere. All of us could be subjected to the pains of life. What happens is when you have this pharmaceutical takeover of all things health, there's one thing, and that's drugs and pharmaceuticals. And I'll get into that more. But that's where the CDC is heavily funded by pharmaceutical companies. It's a revolving, in fact, the CDC has vaccine patents. The CDC has drug patents. The CDC has all kinds of financial incentives to work with the pharmaceutical industry. Those who serve in the CDC and the FDA, it's a revolving door, like Judy Gerberdine, who is now head of Merck, or she was head of Merck, but she left the CDC and went right over to Merck. Merck is the maker of the MMR vaccine. In case people didn't know, Merck is also the maker of the drug Vioxx that had to be recalled after killing a bunch of people. So there's that. So then, okay, so services include psychological, psychoeducational. Psychoeducational. What is that? Psychosocial assessments. Who does that and assesses what according to whom? Direct and indirect interventions. What direct and indirect interventions? And who is deemed to need an intervention and when. To address psychological, academic, social barriers to learning, whatever those may be, whatever those barriers could be. I can think of a few that could be barriers in a real way, but how could this be like convoluted and twisted? The point is, it's like, why is the CDC now into education? How is social emotional learning putting public health into education? Why is this happening? And it's like a concerted part of the narrative. So at schools are going to be health centers. That is what the future, that is what they're basically, the public-private partnerships that back this, that shape policy that we have to live with. Okay. So then we got additionally system level assessment, prevention, intervention, and program designed by school employed mental health professionals. So they're going to have, and they've had school psychologists on campuses before. It's that part is not new, but they're going to have a lot more, and it's going to be a lot bigger part of your child's educational experience. This is changing, and the language is changing. And with COVID, we saw that change coming through, and it's alarming. And these steps have been in the works for a while now. This just didn't all of a sudden, poof, here it is. This has been a long game and a long process that they've been working on. The public-private partnerships, the money behind the government, the money that supports the giant bureaucracy that we now call the United States government and our local Connecticut government. That's who they are. And some of them are elected, and some of them are bureaucrats who are hired, and then some of them are the business entities that stand to benefit the most. Who benefits from the CDC being in school? Well, gee, who could possibly benefit from the CDC being a part of your child's education in a major, major way? Gee, I wonder who that could be. The pharmaceutical industry. Oh, that's just conspiracy theory. That's right-wing whatever. It's so difficult in this day and age. I don't even know where to begin. So, additionally, system-level assessments, prevention, intervention, and program designed by school-employed mental health professionals contribute to the mental and behavioral health of students as well to the health of the school environment. These can be done through resource identification and need assessment, school community family collaboration, and ongoing participation in school safety and crisis response efforts. Additionally, school-employed professionals can provide skilled consultation with other school staff and community resources and community providers. School-employed mental health professionals ensure that services provided in schools reinforce learning and to help align interventions provided by the community providers with the school environment. Professionals such as certified school counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers provide these services. Yeah, and Connecticut just passed a bill last year, the mental health bill, and that is going to put an army of social worker and mental health workers into the public school system. That passed last year. These social workers, these mental health professionals will all be trained in social emotional learning and restorative practices. And on top of that, let me just take you here. Strategies. Strategies for using the WSCC framework. Whole school, whole child, whole community. I just want you to keep, that's the CDC. Just remember where this is coming from. And all these nice words, I know. I seem like I'm just complaining. Oh, don't you want your child to have services? Don't you want your child to be screened for something you may not know is wrong? And your child's at school and they could discover something that you would need to know. No, I don't. I'm not comfortable with that. No, not at all. I'm not comfortable with it. That's just me. But if a parent wanted to opt into some type of service like that, well, why does this have to be at school? Oh, because of the poor kids, it's equity. No. Why are there so many poor students? Why is that? Gee, in the state of Connecticut, we have not recovered from the 2008 crash. Not only have we not recovered from the 2008 crash, our job growth is disgusting. So the level of poverty that just keeps growing and affecting families of all colors, all creeds, all, nationalities, and the root of the problem is never being solved. We're just building more and more bureaucracy to create services, because the ultimate is a society that is completely dependent on a government system, be it welfare or the medical system. It becomes, you become a part of that system. I mean, how do I explain this? It's like you lose your autonomy, your liberty, your individual, your individuation, the part of you that you may not want to do those things. That may not be the way you find yourself feeling healthy, following their protocols, doing what they say. Like, they want you to wear a mask. That's one example. There's nothing healthy about wearing a mask. They want you to get vaccines. I don't want vaccines. I'm not interested. Does that make me anti-vaccine? No, that makes me not interested in having vaccines. I have my reasons. I can get into that. I have a lot of really good reasons. We could talk about the mumps portion of the MMR. Did you know that Merck is being sued for fraud for the mumps portion of the MMR? Two scientists blew the whistle on Merck, the makers of Vioxx, which was taken off the market. Vioxx was taken off the market for killing people. Then it was discovered 10 years ago that Merck, the makers of the MMR, cooked the science to make the mumps portion of the MMR seem more efficacious. And that's just one problem with the MMR vaccine. There are many. We can get into more things about that. And the whole, autism thing, and Dr. Andrew, Wakefield, and that whole thing. When all Andrew Wakefield did was say, we need to study this more. And he was persecuted and lost his license. This is the world that we're living in, and that was a while ago. And so it's absolutely insane that the CDC is in schools now in a way that's bigger than ever. They're passing legislation in Connecticut that is in lockstep with the CDC. Lockstep with the CDC. I'll show you on the Connecticut State website where they talk about that. So the whole school, whole community, whole child model is the CDC's framework for addressing health in schools. Why are you addressing health in schools? The model focuses on the student and emphasizes the collaboration. That's really important. Language matters. So the model focuses on the student. Will parents be a part of that focus? Will parents know if their child is given a medication or a vaccine or treated for something? Are parents going to be made aware of that? Because Connecticut was trying to pass a bill that parents wouldn't know if their 12-year-old got a vaccine. And apparently, and I haven't checked into this, but I trust the source that has said it, and I'm going to check into that, and anyone who wants to take a little bit of time to look into that as well. It's come to my attention that you can't look at your child's medical records after they turn 12. Unless you get some paperwork, the child can opt you in your child's medical records. And this happened recently. So your child's medical records for 12 and up are not even though you are, these are 12-year-olds. Are 12-year-olds ready to go out and live in the world as adults? Hardly. But parents are being reduced to just like an annoyance. You were they don't even call, in the state of Connecticut, they took mother and father off of the birth certificate. Okay? You're either the non-birth parent or the birth parent. So we are being reduced in our humanity. We are being reduced as parents, and our children are being the subjects of experimentation, really, because the CDC with their social emotional learning and all their think tanks recognize there are no, they'll say it's evidence-based, it's BS. There's a lot of contention around social emotional learning, whether it works, whether it doesn't. Some people say it works great, some people say it doesn't, but yeah, we're just gonna force this down your throat through local legislative bodies like Connecticut. So Connecticut is pushing this through in a big way. So here we go. Let me finish reading this. So although not all inclusive, below are examples of evidence-based strategies. There's no evidence-based strategies. Okay? You go and you read through their articles, their studies. They use data models. Where have we gone with that before? What have we learned from models and data? Can I just say Neil Ferguson and the Royal College of whatever it is that he came from? And their predictions and how wrong Neil Ferguson has been over and over and over again for a really long time. And they put these models and data together. There's a famous quote by it's Mark Twain: lies, damn lies, and statistics. Okay, so it always makes me think of the whole the models and the data and the predictions and the studies. It's evidence-based. It's safe and effective. Just trust the experts. Don't think too much. You can't handle it. So, okay, so evidence-based strategies here. Let me take you back to here. Evidence-based strategies and promising practices for using the WSCC framework to promote health before, during, and after school. So they're gonna, let me also just tell you this. After school programs are a big part of this. So they're gonna have after school programs that are gonna be a part of the messaging that is a big part of the Whole School, Whole Child initiative. So there's that. All right, let me take you on a couple more. There's a lesson plan that I actually want to take you directly onto the website because you just got to see this for yourselves. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So, let me just put this up here. Apologize for that, guys. The link was broken. Okay, this is Connecticut. Let's just take a look at Connecticut just to show you the importance of this. Let me bring this into full screen. So this is the Connecticut's official website. And you can see whole school, whole community, whole child. And it says, and then since 1987, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention coordinated school health approach was Guided Connecticut. Guided Connecticut. It's always like guided, right? Schools in the development and implementation of health promoting policies, processes, and practices. A coordinated approach is necessary because many health and social issues. Let me see if I could blow this up further for you guys. Can I do that? Oops, sorry about that. Let me see if I can blow this up. Yes, I can. Let me blow this up a little bit so we could kind of look at this together. Okay. So since education, public health, and school health sectors often serve the same children in the same settings, it is important to use an unified and collaborative approach when developing, implementing, and evaluating school health policies, practices, and programs. To address the need for an enhanced collaborative approach, the CDC and the ASCD expanded and merged the 8-component CH model with 5 tenets of the ASCD's whole child approach to learning: health, safety, engaged, supported, and challenged. Oh boy. So parents, were you aware that Connecticut's been planning this? I bet you haven't been aware of this. But this is some crazy. So what is this, right? What is that? Let's check it out. So when you start to click on these, the whole child approach transitions from a focus on narrowly defined academic achievement to one that promotes the long term development and success of children. Okay, support for schools and communities through this approach. Enter schools healthy and learn about the practice and healthy lifestyle. Oh boy, look at this. Healthy! Each student enters school healthy and learns about and practices a healthy lifestyle. Our school culture supports and reinforces the health and well being of each student. You would hope so, right? Our school health education curriculum and instruction support and reinforce the health and well being of each student by addressing the physical, mental, emotional, and social dimensions of health. Our school physical education schedule, curriculum, and instruction support and reinforce health and well-being of each student by addressing lifetime fitness. You know, this reminds me of Hitler's youth. It's because the way to control the society is to get the youth. This is what Mao did as well. I mean, you got to be able to talk about this stuff without people freaking out. That's the point of knowing history. So I'm going to say it because what are you going to do? Freak out? I'm raising questions based on what I'm reading. And I can't help but think I'm in the Weimar Republic right now, reading the manifesto for how the new Germany was going to raise and educate healthy, well-balanced people. I mean, I'm not making this up. You could go read about the Weimar Republic and the rise of the Nazi Party because it didn't just start overnight. Our school facility and environment support and reinforce the health and well-being of each student and staff member. And you have to ask, what is health according to the CDC and according to this organization, ASCD? Who is it sponsored by? I haven't done a deep dive into this one yet, but I know who the CDC is. It's sponsored by Big Pharma. It's a public-private partnership, and it is in the process. It's in the they promoted remdesivir when there was killing people in hospitals and ventilators and masking and these experimental vaccines on a population, including pregnant women and children, and then telling you it was safe and effective. I mean, that's just one example because it's so set in my mind. Okay. And they used to spray DDT onto kids to prevent like bugs and lice. Yeah. I mean, this is the government for you and bureaucracy. Our school integrates health and well-being into the school's outgoing activities, professional development, curriculum, and assessment practices. Our school sets realistic goals for student and staff health that are built on accurate data and sound science. What data? Whose science? And who determines if it's accurate or not? Because masking wasn't accurate. Now, they ignored the science that didn't promote the narrative. So is it science based on science, or is it science that promotes the narrative? Our school facilities, student and staff access to mental health and dental services. Our school supports, promotes, and reinforces healthy eating patterns and food safety and routine food service and special programming and events for students and staff. I'm so curious of what that'll be because I've been a huge proponent of wanting my children to eat healthier. And then I send them to school and the cafeteria is full of garbage food. Michelle Obama has been talking about healthy organic food forever. There was never any healthy food while Obama was president and my kids were in school. I would be disgusted at what the cafeteria was serving up. I never could understand why are the schools using Sodexo? Nationwide, I think public schools use Sodexo, which is also the main food supplier of prison meals. Crazy trains. Okay, so here we go. Safe. Each student learns in an environment that is physically and emotionally safe. Well, what is that? Okay, let's take a look. This is just like mind-blowing. I'm just blown away by the whole thing, to be honest with you. Let me just get this. Sorry. Enter full screen. I know there's a shortcut I could take, and I forget what the keys are to take that shortcut. Anyway. Our school building, grounds, playground, equipment, and vehicles are secure and meet all established safety and environmental standards. Our school physical plant is attractive. structurally sound and good internal hallways and external pedestrian, bicycle, and motor vehicle traffic flow, including for those with special needs, and is free of defects. Wow. Our physical, emotional, academic, and social school climate is safe, friendly, and student-centered. Our students feel valued, respected, and cared for, and motivated to learn. Our school staff and family members establish and maintain school and classroom behavioral expectation, rules, routines that teach students how to manage their behavior and help students improve their behavior. I mean, some of it sounds benign, you know. Our teachers and staff develop and implement academic and behavioral interventions based on an understanding of a child and adolescent development and learning theories. So, you know, there's a whole art to teaching, and I have a lot of respect for teachers. However, what we are seeing now is the total change of public schools, and the system is really just wild. So let me take you over here. Hold on a second. I want to take you to this particular link. So back to here. And if I could find you where I screenshot this virtual school, I think this is where, here we go. Check this out, guys. I want to read you a lesson plan. Okay. Yes, we know. I know how to use you now. So I'm going to take you into grades 6 through 8. So now, I wanted to take that. Hold on a second. So this is the kind of things that they're doing in high school. So this is a lesson plan. And notice, just, you can click on this too. This is in the Substack that I have. These are links to this, so you can click on the virtual classrooms and see different things in the classroom. So I thought this was really interesting. They have like the HPV awareness. That's for the HPV Gardasil vaccine. It's extremely controversial, not a good vaccine. They're being sued. Currently, Gardasil is being sued for, oh God, how are they suing? Because you can't sue. Okay, in 1986, they passed the vaccine, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the act. In 1986, they changed the law, and they indemnified vaccine manufacturers. So they passed a law that created a VAERS, which is the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, which is the government's reporting system for vaccine injury. In that process, they created the Vaccine Exemption Act, or something like, I can't think of the name of it right now. It was in 1986. They changed the public health law on vaccination and giving indemnifying all vaccine manufacturers from lawsuit. So if their product hurts or injures someone, they cannot be sued unless there's real strong case of malfeasance. And I think that they figured out how a loophole, Children's Health Defense. If you aren't familiar with them, you can follow them. They're wonderful. The Children's Health Defense has great resources. They were sued for the Gardasil vaccine, and it's injured a lot of people. That's just the truth. You could go and you could look up lawsuits for Gardasil, against Gardasil. They're class action lawsuits. I think they're using the malfeasance and fraud as a means to sue, because if you are injured by a vaccine, your only recourse is to go to vaccine court because of the 1986 legislation that granted total immunity to vaccine manufacturers of the childhood vaccine schedule, by the way. Not all vaccines were immune. When the COVID vaccine came out, they created the PrEP Act, which basically made all things COVID immune. So all that masking, all that stuff, nobody could be sued. The government couldn't be sued. The public health facilities can't be sued. Nobody could be sued for promoting all the COVID stuff. They covered their butts. Yeah, they did that. So this is a lesson plan that the CDC is this is a lesson plan that the CDC is giving you an example. So let me read this to you, parents. Bear with me. It's a little bit long. It's not that long, but Just take a listen. So Miss Du Bois ensures she uses a variety of methods from low tech to high tech to encourage her high school students to make healthy choices. Why is the teacher encouraging students to make healthy choices? Shouldn't the high school teacher be teaching math, science, literature, art, music? What do you who decides what's a healthy choice? Her philosophy is to communicate her health messages explicitly. Health messages. Whose health messages? Whose? So the CDC, okay, let me just take you back to here real quick because it's right here. Look at this. 48 million students could be reached with health messages. What does that really tell you? What does that really tell you? That's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Let me pull this website back up. So, let me see if I can zoom it in too. So, okay, here we go. So the teacher's gonna show health messages explicitly through one-on-one conversations. These are all the kinds of health messages that the teacher could be putting up. You know, they got the HPV stuff. You know, the texting thing I agree with. I got substance abuse. I think that just puts substances into teenagers' minds. I've looked at DARE and I just think it's a complete failure having teenagers and dealing with catching them doing things. Yeah, I asked my son years ago, how did you ever figure this out? Oh, well, I saw it. I learned it in health class with DARE. I was like, oh my God. So I don't know about that, guys. I just DARE. And they call it different things now. But the drug, the substance abuse, I don't know. Anyway, there's being the trans ally, so you got the LGBTQ stuff in the classroom, too, which really doesn't belong there. And I'm not anti-gay, so please stop. I am definitely, and I will tell you this, the transgenderism is scary. Not because I don't like people. I feel really bad for anybody who is feeling really uncomfortable in their own body to such a state that they would remove healthy sex organs. And kids just don't understand or realize what their sex organs are capable of. To the fullest extent that an adult would, because you can't know what your breasts are capable of until you're a full-grown woman and you've come to the full realization of your breasts as a sexual creature and also as a mother. So when young girls want to bind their breasts and go in and have a double mastectomy, I think people have lost their minds. And that's what I'm going to say on that for this video. Okay. So here we go. So they're going to be using posters and other visuals for her classroom. So the classroom is now a messaging center. This is the CDC now. This is the whole school, whole child. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm reading off of. So magazines and other visuals for her classroom. She makes sure to keep her messages evidence-based. According to who and what evidence? Fact checkers? Fact checkers. And current by reviewing research literature. Media sources. What research literature? What media sources? What about history? What about algebra? What about geometry? Why? When is there any time for kids to learn academics? Is academics even a part of this new public health education that they are putting into our public schools? And I haven't even gotten into the bill that's really scary, the school climate bill. I'm going to have to do like a part 2 of this video and just read the bill for you. Although maybe I'll just do it all in this video and I can cut it up later into smaller bits. Because people can stream in or stream out as I'm going through it and just cover it all. Because this is just, it's dense. And I spent a couple of days writing this article. This is on my Substack on public health as education is public health. And it's mind-blowing. Okay, so here we go. This is the CDC. She makes sure to keep her messages evidence-based. This is the teacher in your child's classroom. This is what the CDC, whole school, whole child, whole community, this is what's going on right now. Now, is it in schools all across the country? It's in many schools. It's here in Connecticut. And it's being codified into the law. So when you're sending your kids off to school, you are subjecting your children to Mrs. Du Bois or Miss Du Bois's classroom full of messaging that you may not agree with. Okay, she selects subjects. She selects subjects that are relevant and interesting for her students. She does she? What subjects are those? After reviewing findings from the most recent CDC Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and that's another part of this, there is going to be huge amounts of data collecting with the whole school, whole child, whole health, whole community. They're going to data collect from the students by quizzing them and testing them and asking them personal questions, which they're already doing. And they're going to do this to parents too, getting parents involved. And they're going to survey the parents, ask about the parents' home, all kinds of very invasive questions. I'm going to dive into this in a whole deep way, covering what's going on. This is huge, and parents need to push back now. Parents need to push back. This is not okay. The school climate bill that has not been voted into law yet, which will likely pass in the supermajority that we find ourselves in, parents, you need to step up to the, and you have been. Many parents are. You got to hold their feet to the fire. This is really disturbing. Okay. So after reviewing findings from the most recent CDC Youth Risk Behavior Survey, Ms. DuBois has made sure to address e-cigarettes and texting and driving with her students. In her many years of teaching, Ms. DuBois has seen her students who are involved in after-school activities and develop healthy social support networks tend to be more resilient and successful in navigating adolescence than their peers who seem more isolated and uninvolved. She makes sure to promote a wide range of clubs and activities so that all her students can find a place to belong and contribute. It was interesting. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and there was a really bizarre story about a young woman who is now detransitioning and was invited to a group that gave her a lot of confusion and led to her having a double mastectomy. Yes, I said that. Detransitioners are people who went through the transgender pharmaceutical mode of care, if you could call it that, and now have severe side effects from synthetic hormones and puberty blockers and surgeries. And one of the teenagers, who is now an adult, who regrets having a double mastectomy, that's the removal of healthy breasts off of a young developing woman. The nipples, the breasts are very complex parts of the human female body that you just don't chop them off because you want to be masculine. And they're teaching this in school. That's sick. All right? If I get censored for saying that's sick, it's sick. And right now in Australia, I would be arrested for saying that. But I'm not going to be arrested right now in the United States yet, because we got to push back. And we got to point out what's real. That's not hate. I have nothing against people I don't care who people are sleeping with or what their sexual orientation is. I love all my children if they are gay or straight. It doesn't matter to me. My oldest son came out and said he was exploring being a homosexual. I loved him anyway. It doesn't matter to me. So people who say that I'm a bigot or a racist, you're a damn fool. I'm sorry. It makes me angry. Oh, God. So I read this and I start to get angry. So the young woman who is detransitioning will never, ever have her breast back, will never breastfeed a baby, doesn't know if she can ever have children, started off in an after-school program that led to her confusion. And what she realized is that she had trauma and was sexually abused. That's her story. There's all different stories from these young people who are put into positions and then confused, who have real problems. If somebody said, I don't feel good in my body, I want to amputate my arm, are you going to take them to have them amputate my arm? I identify as a one-armed person, I'm going to amputate my arm. You wouldn't do that. But why would anybody take a child and have and yes, they do it on children that are younger than 18, and as if 18 years old, all of a sudden, it's okay then. It isn't. Are these adults given informed consent? Are they given informed consent that you will cut off your sexual organs? They will never function the same again, ever. You may look masculine or feminized, whichever it is you're choosing, but you will never be the opposite biology other than what your body is that you were born into. It's not an assignment other than the fact you're in a body. I can't even believe it. I'm like stunned. So, this is in schools, guys, and they're doing these clubs. Now, no, does it say that's what they're doing in there? I'm just relating some of the information that's been coming out from young people who are detransitioning. And that isn't conversion therapy. Some bloke. I love the English. I love the word bloke. It's just so wonderful. I'm going to use the word bloke. So this bloke I know, and he thinks he knows it all. He's so stupid. He's dangerously ignorant. I'm sorry. He posts all this like CDC crap on my wall, and I allow him to engage because I think that discourse is good. And I mean, he's on my wall. We probably know each other personally. So if he sees this video, yes, I'm calling you a bloke. You know who you are. And I'm sorry, but this is it's not hateful to have honest conversations like this. I think these children need help. I think that if anything, the transgenderism is conversion therapy because some of these kids are gay or lesbian and they're afraid of that. And that's come out with people who have detransitioned, young people who are now adults who are and even Chloe Coles, she was questioning that about herself too. She wasn't sure what she was. It's just really wild. But okay, so here we go. So here she goes. She also makes it known that her classroom is a safe space, meaning students can privately talk with her about concerns or issues they may have in a supportive, non-judgmental environment. You see that? Because who is Miss Du Bois? What are her qualifications to be having a private conversation with my child, providing some safe space in the school with all of her promotion of whatever she thinks is right, but it's not her thinking. She's following the CDC. And there are teachers who have left their jobs because they can't participate in this. So crazy stuff. This is a lesson plan for 9th through 12th graders, by the way. And I'm not going to go through all of them. You can go and look through all the different lesson plans that they have. Each is more bizarre than the next. The high school one really stands out quite a bit. Okay, so here we go. She's going to be the teacher is promoting mental health as a topic frequently covered in Miss Du Bois' classroom. Really? Why? So when does Miss Du Bois have any time to teach her students academics? She does her best to connect students and other teachers, ! Who may be struggling with appropriate support. Who is Miss Du Bois a social worker or a teacher? Or psychologist? Is she a doctor? What is her medical training? She tries to equip all her students so they know what signs to be aware of and how to take appropriate actions to help others. What signs? What? She also works to reduce the stigma at Jefferson School that may be associated with mental health issues. You can use a variety of means to communicate with your students on a range of wellness topics. Use wall space in classrooms, common areas, and restrooms to promote relevant health topics. Remember to change your posters and other visuals frequently to keep students' interest. Create coordinated school-wide communication campaigns. Yeah. So let me just get into the bill because I start this video an hour ago. I'm over an hour and 22 minutes. And I definitely don't want to go over the 2 hours. And I will cut this up into some shorter bits as I go through it, but it's very dense. So one last thing that I want to take you into, I'll bring you right into my article. And I want to take you into the bill that is in Connecticut. So this is specifically related to Connecticut. This is the school climate bill that is in lockstep with all that I've been talking about, and many parents are aware this is already happening, when you see all these strange headlines of, there was just something that happened in Connecticut. I want to say it was Wolcott, where a teacher there's a big controversy because the teacher had a student read from a graphic sex novel aloud to the class. Yeah, that's just not appropriate. I would feel really uncomfortable. In fact, I feel really uncomfortable. I think in polite society, your sexual preferences and this and that, and what you do in a bedroom, and how to have a good sex life and stuff, those are conversations that, you could set up a thing and say, oh, and invite people who are going to have this talk about sexual health or whatever. I'd want to know that I'm going into that, right? Like, it just shouldn't be just wherever you are. You can have these talks about what your sexuality is, who you like, what you're attracted to, how you feel sexual gratification, or read exotic sex novels, unless you're looking for that. And that's your choice. But to put it in the school system is not okay. And there are a lot of children as well as parents who are not okay with that, who are not comfortable with that. Does a 12-year-old really want to get into the techniques of masturbation with the 7th grade teacher? That's creepy. Oh, that was part of the comprehensive sex education bill that they were trying to pass. That still could go through the legislature. They took it out of the language, the comprehensive sex education, or whatever it was that it was called. It'll be back because this is part of the Whole School, Whole Child's initiative. And I don't think that teachers should be getting into their private sex lives either. If a teacher has is married and they have their picture of their spouse, whether if they're gay marriage or not, I don't care. And they get a picture and that's their family, that's your family. And there's no big, you don't have to get into all these things about your private life. Okay, children aren't like this whole idea that we're this racist, hateful group of society is wrong. Yes, there are people in society that are hateful. You'll never erase that. But society as a whole, all being racist and homophobic and all this stuff, this is nonsense. People think because you bring up this discourse and pushback, that you're now some kind of bigot. How are we here? How are we here? So this is the school climate bill. Let me blow it up a little bit. Here we go, so you guys can take a peek at that. Okay, so this is being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives and General Assembly, effective July 23rd, as used in this section and sections 2 to 9, inclusive of this act. School climate means the quality and character of school life, with a particular focus on the quality of the relationships within the school community, which is based on patterns of people's experience of school life, and that reflects the norms, goals, values, and interpersonal relationships, teaching, learning, leadership practices, and organizational structures within the school community. It's like a lot of word salad, but it's integral. There's nothing in there about how to learn or exciting ways to teach kids. Social emotional learning means the process through which children and adults achieve emotional intelligence, whatever that means. And that's like word for word right off of the Whole School, Whole Child, Whole Community CDC website. This is Connecticut. This is currently been voted out of committee. It could be on the House floor as I speak right now. The legislative body closes, I think, on June 7th, and we can take a sigh of relief. They're done for doing damage. The level of bills coming out this session is extremely concerning. This is just one of an array of concerning bills, completely reshaping life in Connecticut. It's insane. And most people are not really paying attention. A good majority of people in the state of Connecticut are not paying attention. That's why we're stuck with a crappy supermajority. Looney should retire. Duff is a nightmare. Lamont, who is, I can't even believe it. Lamont is polling up. He's one of the top 5 popular governors. You can't make this up because when he first started his term, in his first term before COVID, he was in the bottom 3. He was the worst governor. because his policies stink, and he still stinks, and nothing has changed. And not only that, you got the Semaphore controversy and all of this controversy with his wife's company, Annie Huntress Lamont, who owns Oak Healthcare FinTech. Oak Healthcare FinTech. Do you understand what FinTech is? Do you understand its connection to where we're at, FinTech? FinTech is the biometric security state coming to you. FinTech. Okay. So, what else we got? Let's see. Hold on a second. Why am I think I got to zoom out a little bit. Oh, that's just one of the, I got to screen to the other. Social emotional learning means the process through which children and adults achieve emotional intelligence through the competence of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Whoever decides that, whatever that means. Emotional intelligence means the ability to perceive, recognize, and understand emotions in oneself and in others. So, reasoning, problem solving, interpersonal communication, understand and identify emotions, and manage emotions in oneself and others. You can't really manage someone else's emotions. You are in charge of your own emotions. You can't control others. Bullying means an abuse of power within a school environment as an educational institution and workplace, including cyberbullying and teen dating violence involving individuals or groups of students or adults. So basically, they could put this leaves a lot of room for interpretation, right? So parents going into the Board of Ed meetings upset about some material that's you're dealing with the whole school, whole child. There's going to be a lot of that happening. They're anticipating this. So this basically criminalizes any parents who want to have dissent with the school, but they become like an enemy of the school. But what does that do to the child and the parent and the family dynamics within the school? I don't even think that a child could continue in this environment like that, and how healthy that would be if a child's being taught at school that the parents are bad, and then the school is withholding valuable information about the child and teaching the child that the school is more trustworthy than the family. That's what's happening. The school environment means the school sponsored, and this is disturbing too, this language here. Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let me pull it back up here. Here we go. This is all on my Substack, so you guys can check this out for yourselves. The school environment means a school-sponsored or school-related activity, function, or programming. So if parents were going to go and protest a drag queen story hour at the local grammar school, that would be part of that, you see. So, and a parent anybody should have a right to be able to protest that. That's like, it's weird. Why do we have drag queens coming into schools and libraries? That doesn't teach tolerance. It's strange. Come on, let's just be real about this. I think people are too much in this ideological, fantastical world of idiocy. It's dangerously ignorant, and it needs to stop. I have nothing against drag queens. They belong it's an adult entertainment. It's not meant for children. Twerking men, putting on woman's face and jumping around. One guy had like these big fake boobs, and he's like shaking them. How on earth is that teaching tolerance? What are you talking about? So the function or program, whether on or off school grounds, at a school bus stop or school bus or other vehicle owned, used, or by a local school or regional board of education, and may occur outside of a school-sponsored or school-related activity, function, or program if such bullying and negativity impacts the school environment. So if a parent's being really vocal online, talking about issues that they're having with some of this social emotional learning and restorative practices and this whole school, whole child, whole community stuff that they're forcing down our throats through our local governments. And they start to actively, like I'm putting this video together. My kids are all grown now. I don't have this to deal with this right now in that way. But it's disturbing because my children are grown. I'm still very concerned about what's happening in school because the children are our future. And I feel for these parents and these families still in this system that are stuck with this. And it's going to affect everybody, all of society. So this should concern all of us. And we're going to be paying out the nose in taxes to pay for all this crap too. So now you get this army of social workers and psychologists and all these clinics and this, that, and the other. Cha-ching, baby. Them school taxes are going up. I know in my town, they're raising the mill just a little bit, because it's just bit by bit by bit for the school. They want to raise the mill. I voted no on that, by the way. I just voted no. I think the school should rein in their budget. I do. I've said that while my kids were in school. I voted no throughout my kids' education. My son's not quite out yet. He'll be graduating this June. Lucky guy. Okay. And he comes out a happy, healthy, solid male. Thank God. So, school environment means a school-sponsored or school-related activity, function, or program, whether on or off school grounds, at school bus stops or school bus, I've already read that, or may occur outside of school-sponsored, I already read that. Cyberbullying is any act, bullying through the use of internet, interactive and digital technology, cellular, mobile telephone, or other mobile electronic devices or electronic communications. They're about to lump bullying in with discourse. The discourse is now the new bullying, just like I'm a bigot for talking about transgenderism and the whole like white privileges nonsense. I'm a bigot. Yeah, even though my grandfather was black, I'm a bigot and don't like black people. Some of my best friends, black folks, this is so stupid. I can't even stress the stupidity of this, victimizing black folks and making white folks the most evil demons on the planet. It's just a way to divide. This is age-old crap that they've been dividing people up for centuries upon centuries. It's ridiculous and it needs to stop. There's no such thing as white privilege, and black folks are not victims. Slavery is gone and dead. There's no slavery in the United States right now. But if we look at Libya, there's open slave trading right there. So you want to talk about slavery, it's still happening. And then human sex trafficking, which is really rampant, and anybody could be turned into a slave. Slavery isn't about color of your skin. Any human being could be enslaved. It's this is just crazy. And human beings have been enslaved throughout history and still are, unfortunately. And that's something we should all fight against of every color, because it's not just black folks were enslaved or are enslaved. The human sex trafficking is really real, and they'll take everybody of any nationality and they'll sex traffic people. It's very scary. They have an open slave market in Libya. And Muammar Gaddafi, by the way, he treated his people good. From the stuff that I've read about him, us going in there and murdering Gaddafi was absolutely atrocious and disgusting. By the way, that was Obama and Hillary Clinton that did that. And then basically now Libya, not basically, it's the truth, Libya has open slave trading market. So all those poor folks that are going through Libya that used to not have any problems moving through Libya while Gaddafi was there are now being caught and put into slavery all around the world. So, I mean, we are nonsensical in our thinking. This is nuts. We are not in that. We are not 200 years ago where this country was first founded, and we go into the core roots of slavery. We see whites enslaving other whites, black people enslaving other black people. It's Spanish people enslaving other Spanish people. It don't matter. It's equal opportunity. They have the powerful, rich oligarchs controlling the masses and taking some of them into slavery. And we could still say we have slavery today. It's called economic slavery and poverty, where they're going to make us all equally poor. So enough with this nonsense and race baiting people. As humanity, we all need to stand together to fight the injustices of what so much power concentrated in the few does to the many. Oh, man. Here we go. One more slide. I'm getting tired here, guys, and I'm just about to 2 hours. So let's see. One more slide here. All right, that's where we were. I'll take you over here. School climate. Okay, so these are the things. School community means any individuals, groups, businesses. This is a school community. So this is how The school climate bill lumps everybody up in the community. So you will not be able to criticize the public school system. You will be like, I don't know, maybe they come and arrest me now. I mean, they're doing that in Australia. A woman was arrested for saying a man can't breastfeed a child because there's this man who grew some breasts and is excreting something out of his weird breasts and calling it breast milk. It's not breast milk. You're not a woman. You don't have mammary glands. It's just a biological fact. That's not, hey, a woman in Australia was arrested for that. Yeah, so free speech really matters, because if you can't say the truth, like, is this going to be the case now for me? So I'm like talking about this, and transgenderism is in schools. They're teaching this. Why is the question that parents should ask. It's not to create tolerance. It's nonsensical. It's absolutely nonsensical. This is crazy. And what does transgenderism have to do with gay and lesbian? It's like two different things. And some of the trans women, or the men who are saying they're women, are autogynephiliacs who find a fetish in dressing in women's clothing and are heterosexuals, and they're in women's spaces. And there's controversy about that, as there should be. Would I be like in trouble now because I'm talking about this according to this law? This is the Connecticut. This isn't passed into law yet. I'm thinking that it's probably going to. I was thinking it was probably going to. That's my thought. So, oops, let me turn this off. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. School community means any individuals, groups, businesses, public institution, nonprofit organizations that are invested in the welfare and vitality of a public school system. Well, as a taxpayer, I would say that I'm invested. All taxpayers would be. But limited to students and their parents or guardians, members. Okay, sorry, let me just get back up here. So, nonprofit organization, let me just start from the end. School community means any individuals, groups, businesses, public institutions, and nonprofit organizations that are invested in the welfare and vitality of a public school system and the community in which it is located, including but not limited to, students and their parents or guardians, members of the local or regional board of education, volunteers at the schools, and employees. Effective July 1st, 2023, no later than August 31st, 2024, the State Board of Education shall adapt the National School Climate Standards and provide guidance to local and regional boards of education on implementation of the Model School Climate Policy. Now, I got into where this is originating with the CDC, whole school, whole child, whole community. I haven't read the National School Climate Initiative yet. I'm going to dive into that, and I'll write an article and do another video on that as well. Also effective July 1st, 2023. For the school years commencing July 1st, 2023 and July 1st, 2024, each local and regional board of education may adopt and implement a district school climate policy. Okay. So this is some more of the bill's explanations here. The management of emotions in oneself and others. So this is like just more, oops, cancel this. Hold on a second, I bumped something. So this is just more of stuff in the bill itself. Manage one's emotions and stuff. To manage emotions in oneself and others. I don't know how you manage someone else's emotions. You have no ability to control. Yes, you can provoke something. Yes, there is that. You can provoke stuff. So it's not that you don't have an ability. But people are ultimately, there's something called free will. You have the mind and a brain. So no, you don't want to provoke people. Definitely, I get that. But this is slippery language. This is like George Orwell's book was meant. I didn't think it was a manual on like what we were going to be living in the 20s and 2020s here. But it's crazy. So the bill allows the training to be made available to each school under the board's jurisdiction to include technical assistance for implementing the school climate improvement plan. The school climate coordinator must select the training providers, and any school employee may participate in the training. The bill defines school employee as one of the following. We need to get into all that. I think think that's the end of it. That's pretty much. And if you go to my Substack, you can find all those links. You can read the bill for yourself. The school climate bill that has not passed in law. The mental health bill for Connecticut is a law, guys. That is in our schools right now as we speak. This is part of the whole child, whole school, whole community initiative by the CDC, which ultimately points back down to the I'm sorry, just totally got distracted. An email coming through. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the UN. I'm not going to get into that now because I've gone on way longer than I intended to. So hopefully I can cut some of the stuff I was talking about into smaller clips that I can put out there for you. And you can read this all in my Substack article and follow the links and references. It's a crazy time, guys. I don't know. This is the time where pushback is really important. It's a time for all parents to be brave, because if we lose our free speech, if we lose our children's hearts and minds to this entity, this where everybody is equal and equitable. No, we're not all the same. There's a large spectrum of diversity in the way that we think, the way that we act, the way that we learn. Those things should be honored. That's true diversity. That's true strength. Not this kind of rainbow fake diversity that they're pushing through the school system now. And every parent should question why, because it's an agenda. It's an agenda, and it's here in the state of Connecticut. And it requires all hands on deck. And on that note, I will leave you till we meet again.